So, if you're not further convinced about the understanding of Obama not being the appearance of this Antichrist, which is who the Satanists, who the Luciferians, who the occult are looking to, then read some stuff by some of these Illuminati guys like Manly P. Hall about how he describes this light bearer. And then try to time that identity up to the character of Obama. Obama is just an image that has been put in the face of what they believe to be our fools, is really what they believe us all are, as fools. They think that we would have just took any old thing because we're dumb. Well, they didn't count on real people. They didn't count on people that weren't preoccupied with freaking football and beer and drugs. They didn't count on people of the Spirit, that were born of the Spirit, that know the truth of Jesus. And count on that. So this is chapter 49 of Genesis. This is describing that Dan in the last days will indeed be a judge, will indeed be a serpent judge. Time that up with Ecclesiastes, where wickedness and unrighteousness and iniquity is in the place of judgment. And then the other scriptures that are compared with Psalms 82, what we know of with Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, and the other two verses I just showed you from chapter 6 and chapter 11, I think it was, of Revelation. So all of this begins to tell a story. So what you need to be sharp to figure out and understand right now is this line as it describes Dan. Dan shall judge his people in the last days as one of the tribes of Israel. Now, one of the tribes of Israel, well, we have to remember that Israel is considered nations, even a multitude of nations. Let's go ahead and look to Jacob's own words to see this. And we're going to need to look right here at verse 19 of chapter 48 of Genesis. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people. Talking about Manasseh. And he also shall be great, but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. Now let's talk about Ephraim. Let's talking about Ephraim and Manasseh. And furthermore, we see that Ephraim is given the name Israel by Jacob himself, and all of the blessings that would go to the progeny of Israel and the other sons is now given exclusively to Ephraim. And the Bible will tell us that Ephraim is of Egyptian-born descendancy on his mother's side from the mystery school religions of the priest of On. Incredible biblical fact. So the point I want you to see is that these tribes of Israel are being referred as nations. So Dan, being a tribe of Israel, is represented as nations. Now we need to go back armed with the knowledge that Dan is the judge in the last days, and listen very closely. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, in the time of the dead, that they should be judged. Wow. The Bible just told us, verse 18, chapter 11 of Revelation, that these angry nation judges, these wicked judges, are angry, and their wrath has come. That's going to be the fire judgment that they bring down. That's going to be the judgment of chapter 13, verse 13, which is the fire that was called down from the sky. It's going to be connected to the second cup of Revelation chapter 18, verse 21. So now you know by the Bible's own words that Dan is to be the judge in the last days. By the Bible's own words, there is wickedness in the place of judgment. Dan is one of the nations of Israel that is joined with the 10 lost tribes of Israel to proclaim this wicked judgment upon our world, all the while being led by Ephraim, symbolized with the United Nations, symbolized with the olive branches that have been torn, showing their league of multitude of nations, just as we have Jacob proclaiming them here in chapter 48 of Genesis, verse 19. Incredible? Well, you haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen nothing yet. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come. That's the wicked judgment. I'll be back.